The rain-slicked streets of Brooklyn gleamed under the sodium glow of street lamps as Daniel slammed the apartment door behind him, his fist still clenched around the crumpled letter that burned like a brand against his palm. "You're nothing but a ghost in my life now," he whispered to the empty hallway, the words tasting like ash, before the first sob tore free, raw and unbidden, echoing off the peeling wallpaper like a confession to the ghosts of his own making. In that fractured instant, as thunder cracked the sky open above the brownstones, he didn't know that across the borough, another boy was staring at the same storm, wondering if forgiveness could ever outrun regret. Daniel wiped the rain from his face with the sleeve of his hoodie, the fabric already soaked through from the downpour that had chased him all the way from the subway. It was one of those New York autumn nights where the city felt alive with malice, the wind whipping through the canyons of brick and steel like it had a personal grudge. He trudged up the stairs to his third-floor walk-up in bed-stewie, each step heavier than the last, the letter from his father tucked into his back pocket like a guilty secret. It wasn't much, just a single page, typed on cheap stationery from some prison stationery supply, but the words had sliced deeper than any knife. "I never meant to hurt you, son. But some wounds don't heal. Stay away." He'd been 12 when his dad went inside for the armed robbery that shattered their family like cheap glass. A botched liquor store heist in Queens, the kind of desperate grab at the American dream gone sour in the underbelly of the city. Daniel's mom had packed them up and fled to Jersey for a spell, but grief has a way of circling back, and by high school, they were right back in the thick of it, scraping by on her night shifts at the diner and his odd jobs bagging groceries. Coming out as gay at 16 hadn't helped. It was just another fracture in the fault lines of their lives. His dad never knew, or if he did, the silence was louder than any shout. The apartment door creaked open to the familiar chaos. Stacks of unpaid bills on the kitchen table, the faint hum of the fridge that sounded like a dying beehive, and the distant wail of sirens that was Brooklyn's lullaby. Daniel flicked on the light, revealing the one-room efficiency he shared with his best friend, Marcus, who was out slinging drinks at some dive in Williamsburg. At 22, Daniel was supposed to have it figured out, community college classes in graphic design by day, freelance gigs tweaking logos for local businesses by night, but life had a knack for redrawing the blueprints. He tossed his backpack onto the sagging couch and pulled out his sketchpad, the one constant in the storm of his days. Charcoal pencils scattered across the coffee table like fallen soldiers as he began to draw, lines fierce and unforgiving, etching the jagged skyline outside his window. It was his therapy, cheaper than the shrinks his mom kept pushing, and tonight it felt like the only thing holding him together. The rain pattered against the fire escape, a rhythmic Morse code of loneliness, until a knock shattered the quiet, sharp, insistent, like someone testing the locks on his resolve. Daniel froze, pencil hovering mid-stroke. Marcus wasn't due back for hours, and the super only showed up for rent, which they were 3 days late on. He padded to the door, peering through the peephole at a figure shrouded in shadow, umbrella dripping onto the hall runner. "Who is it?" he called, voice rough from disuse. "It's James," came the reply, muffled but warm, like sunlight breaking through clouds. "From the bodega? You left your wallet this morning. Figured you'd want it back before you starve." Daniel's stomach flipped. James. The new guy behind the counter at the corner store, the one with the easy smile and the faded Yankees cap pulled low over eyes the color of Lake Michigan, blue and endless. They'd exchanged maybe a dozen words over the past month. "That'll be $4. Keep the change." the small talk of strangers orbiting the same small world. But there was something in the way James lingered, the way his gaze held just a beat too long, that made Daniel's pulse stutter. He unlocked the door, swinging it open to find James standing there, soaked jeans clinging to his legs, wallet extended like an olive branch. Close, without the fluorescent buzz of the store lights, James looked younger, maybe 23, with a scattering of freckles across his nose and shoulders broad from whatever manual labor paid his way. "Hey," James said, grin splitting wide. "Rough night." Daniel snatched the wallet, heat creeping up his neck. "Yeah. Thanks for this." "Oh, you won." James shrugged, water sluicing off his jacket. "Buy me a coffee sometime?" Neutral ground, away from the cat piss and expired milk. It was a joke, light as the rain turning to mist outside, but Daniel heard the undercurrent, the invitation wrapped in casual. He nodded, words failing him, and James was gone down the stairs before the door clicked shut. Alone again, Daniel leaned against the frame, heart hammering. The letter from his dad crinkled in his pocket, a reminder that trust was a luxury he couldn't afford. But as he sank onto the couch, sketchpad forgotten, he couldn't shake the image of those blue eyes, steady, seeing. The next morning dawned gray and grudging, the kind of light that seeped through the blinds like smoke from a distant fire. Daniel dragged himself to his shift at the print shop in Bushwick, where the air smelled of ink and regret, machines whirring like mechanical hearts. His boss, a grizzled vet named Sal with tattoos snaking up his arms like forgotten rivers, clapped him on the back. "Kid, you look like death warmed over." "Girl troubles?" Daniel forced a laugh, the lie automatic. "Something like that." Sal didn't pry. That was the beauty of blue-collar gigs. No one had time for soul-bearing. He lost himself in the rhythm of the presses, feeding paper through rollers, the vibration steadying his hands. By lunch, the city had thawed a bit, sun punching through the clouds as he stepped out for a falafel wrap from the truck on Knickerbocker. That's when he saw James again, leaning against a lamppost across the street, scrolling his phone with the nonchalance of someone who belonged everywhere and nowhere. Coincidence? In New York? Maybe. Daniel crossed anyway, wrapper crinkling in his fist. "Stalking me now?" James looked up, surprise melting into that grin. "Guilty. Saw you from the window at work. Figured coffee's on you." He jerked his thumb toward the cafe next door, a hole in the wall called Brewed Awakening, with mismatched chairs and baristas who took poetry as payment. They ended up at a corner table by the window, steam rising from mismatched mugs like unspoken confessions. James stirred his black coffee, spoon clinking softly. "So, Daniel, right? What's your story? You strike me as the brooding artist type." Daniel sipped his latte, foam clinging to his lip. "Graphic design. Trying to make rent without selling my soul." It was the easy version, the one without the prison letters or the nights staring at the ceiling, wondering if love was just another con job. James nodded, eyes tracing the lines of Daniel's face like he was memorizing a map. "Me? I'm from Detroit originally. Dad was a line worker at the plant till it shuttered. Mom's a nurse. Came here chasing the lights. Ended up slinging Slurpees." He paused, vulnerability flickering. "Miss the lakes sometimes. The quiet." The conversation flowed like the East River at low tide, easy, unhurried. James talked about Motown records spinning on his grandpa's old turntable, the way the snow blanketed the Rust Belt in false peace. Daniel shared sketches from his pad, the charcoal cityscapes that captured Brooklyn's grit without the glamour. Laughter came unexpected, a release valve for the pressure building in Daniel's chest. For the first time in months, the weight of his father's words felt a little lighter, like rain evaporating under sun. As they parted ways, James back to the bodega, Daniel to the presses. Fingers brushed in a handshake that lingered. Electric. "Tomorrow?" James asked, voice low. "Tomorrow," Daniel echoed, the promise settling like hope. Weeks blurred into a rhythm of stolen moments. Coffee turning to walks along the promenade at Dumbo, where the Manhattan skyline glittered like a taunt across the water. James had a way of making the ordinary electric, a shared slice of pizza under the BQE overpass, grease dripping onto paper plates as they traded stories of first heartbreaks. James's ex, a drummer who ghosted him after a gig in Ann Arbor. Daniel's high school crush, the quarterback who called him a slur behind his back. They talked faith and doubt. James raised Baptist, now lapsed, finding solace in the stars over Prospect Park. Daniel agnostic, sketching angels with broken wings. One evening, as October leaves crunched underfoot in McCarran Park, James stopped mid-sentence, turning to Daniel with that blue-eyed intensity. "You know, you're the first person who's made this city feel like home." His hand found Daniel's, tentative, then sure, palms pressing together in the fading light. No words, just the squeeze, the world narrowing to the calluses on James's fingers from stocking shelves, the warmth seeping through. Daniel's breath caught, a dam breaking. He leaned in, lips meeting James's in a kiss that tasted of salt and possibility. Soft at first, then deepening, the park's murmurs fading to white noise. It was clumsy, perfect, the kind of first that rewrites your stars. When they pulled apart, foreheads touching, James whispered, "I've wanted that since the wallet drop-off." "Me too," Daniel admitted, the confession freeing something caged inside him. From there, it was a whirlwind. Movie nights in James's cramped sublet in Greenpoint, projections flickering on white sheets as they tangled on the futon, kisses trailing into whispers of dreams. James introduced Daniel to his ragtag crew, fellow transplants nursing beers at dive bars, sharing war stories of the gig economy. Daniel showed James his hidden spots. The graffiti alley in East Williamsburg where artists battled for wall space, the quiet bench by the Gowanus Canal where he went to think. But shadows lingered. Daniel's mom called one night, voice brittle over the line, "Your father's up for parole. Says he wants to see you." The words hung like smoke, choking the air from the room where James slept beside him, oblivious. Daniel stared at the ceiling, tracing cracks like fault lines, wondering if old wounds could scar over without pulling everything apart. James sensed the shift, of course. Over breakfast the next morning, burnt toast and instant coffee, he cupped Daniel's face, thumb brushing his cheek. "Talk to me. Whatever it is, we face it." So Daniel did, spilling the story in halting bursts. The robbery, the trial, the years of letters that stopped coming, the fear that his dad would see the gay son and turn away all over again. James listened without interruption, hand steady on Daniel's knee, eyes never leaving his. "You're not your father's mistakes," he said finally. "And if he can't see that, he's the one missing out." It was the closest Daniel had come to absolution, and in the quiet that followed, he kissed James with a gratitude that bordered on reverence. Slow, deliberate, pouring everything unspoken into the press of mouths. As winter crept in, frosting the windows with lace. Their bond deepened into something unbreakable. Holiday lights strung across Bedford Avenue cast halos on their walks home, hands linked against the cold. James surprised Daniel with a sketchbook bound in leather, pages thick and waiting. "For the stories you haven't drawn yet," he said, and Daniel spent nights filling it with them. Portraits of James laughing, quick studies of their intertwined hands, visions of a future beyond the burrows. But love, in its tenderness, invites the storm. The first crack appeared on a Friday in early December, the air crisp with the promise of snow that never quite fell. Daniel had been dodging his mom's calls all week, the parole hearing looming like a guillotine. James noticed the silences, the way Daniel's sketches turned darker, shadows swallowing light, figures with eyes averted. "You're carrying this alone," James said one night, as they huddled under blankets on the fire escape, city lights twinkling below like distant fires. "Let me in." Daniel hesitated, the vulnerability a blade's edge. "It's not you. Family shit. The kind that doesn't wash out." James pulled him closer, breath warm against his ear. "Family's what we make it. You, me, that's ours." The words wrapped around Daniel like armor, and for a moment, he believed them. They made plans that weekend. A trip upstate to James's cousin's cabin, escape from the city's grind. Just us, a fire, and no signal, James promised, packing thermoses of soup and a deck of cards. Daniel laughed, the sound foreign but welcome, as they boarded the Metro-North, the Hudson River sliding past like a silver vein. The cabin was a relic, log walls creaking under pine boughs, a stone hearth that smoked more than it warmed. They arrived at dusk, unloading groceries in the chill, James chopping wood with an axe that bit clean through the logs. Watching him, flannel shirt rolled to elbows, cheeks flushed from effort, Daniel felt a surge of something fierce, protective. That night, by candlelight, they played gin rummy on the rug, bets escalating from chores to kisses. Laughter echoed off the rafters as James lost spectacularly, paying up with a trail of soft presses along Daniel's jaw, collarbone, the hollow of his throat, intimate, unhurried, a language of touch that said, "I see you." In the morning, snow finally came, blanketing the woods in hush. They ventured out, boots crunching virgin powder, building a lopsided snowman with bottle-cap eyes and a carrot nose scavenged from the kitchen. James packed snowballs, pelting Daniel with precision, until they collapsed in drifts, breathless and tangled, faces inches apart. "This," James murmured, snowflakes melting on his lashes. "This is what I want forever." Daniel's heart swelled, but doubt whispered, "Forever's a long time for broken things." He pushed it down, sealing the moment with a kiss that tasted of winter and want. Back in the city, reality reasserted itself. Daniel's mom left a voicemail that hit like a sucker punch. "He's out, Danny. Your father's out. Coming to see you next week." Panic clawed up his throat. Visions of confrontation flashing, accusations, rejection, the past uncoiling like a snake. He didn't tell James right away. Instead, he buried it in work, pulling double shifts at the print shop, fingers stained black with ink. James called from the bodega, voice laced with concern. "Babe, you're ghosting me." "What's up?" "Busy," Daniel lied, the word bitter. Deadline crunch. The distance grew, a chasm widening with each unanswered text. James showed up at the apartment one evening, takeout bags swinging, eyes searching. "We need to talk." "For real." Daniel let him in, the air thick with unspoken. Over lo mein and lukewarm beer, tumbled out the parole, the fear, the terror of his father's judgment on the life he'd built. James absorbed it all. Fork paused midair. "Then we face him together." "I'm not going anywhere." But Daniel pulled back, walls slamming up. "You don't get it. This isn't your mess." James's face hardened, hurt flashing blue. "It's ours now." Or did the cabin mean nothing? The argument simmered low. Words like embers, accusations of walls, pleas for trust. It ended in silence. James leaving with a quiet, "Call me when you're ready." The door clicking like a lock turning. Daniel spent the night pacing, regret a bitter tide. By dawn, he texted, "I'm sorry." "Coffee?" James replied instantly, "Always." Reconciliation came in tentative steps, apologies over espresso, hands linking across the table. They vowed to navigate it together, James insisting on being there for the meeting. "Strength in numbers," he said, squeezing Daniel's fingers. The day arrived swathed in fog, the kind that muffled the city's roar. Daniel's mom picked them up in her battered Civic, her face a map of worry lines softened by tentative hope. "He's changed, Danny." "Swears it." James sat in the back, hand on Daniel's shoulder, a silent anchor as they drove to the halfway house in the Bronx, a squat brick building that smelled of bleach and boiled cabbage. His father waited in the lobby, older than Daniel remembered, hair threaded gray, eyes hollowed by years inside. The handshake was awkward, palms clammy, words stumbling. "Son. I'm proud you're doing good." Daniel's throat tightened, the letters sting resurfacing. "Proud of what? The kid who waited? Or the one you don't know?" The room tensed, his father's gaze dropping. "I know enough. Your mom. She told me." A beat, then softer. "About you. The real you." James shifted beside him, presence steady. Daniel braced for the blow, the disownment, the Bible quotes, but it never came. Instead, tears welled in his father's eyes. "I was wrong. About a lot. Just let me try." It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet, just a crack in the ice. They talked haltingly, stories spilling, regrets from cell blocks, dreams deferred. James chimed in gently, sharing his own family's fractures, bridging the gap with quiet humanity. By the end, as they stood to leave, his father pulled Daniel into a hug, brief, bone-crushing. "I love you, kid. Gay, straight, whatever. You're mine." Outside, rain slicked the windshield, but the weight had lifted, if only a fraction. James wrapped an arm around Daniel's waist in the car. "See? Healing's messy, but it's starting." That night, they celebrated quietly, Chinese delivery on the couch, a bottle of cheap red. Toasts to second chances, kisses that lingered like promises. "You're my family now," Daniel whispered, head on James's chest, heartbeat a steady drum. But peace is fragile, and winter's chill carried whispers of betrayal. January thawed into February with a vengeance, slush puddling sidewalks like spilled secrets. Daniel and James fell into a deeper groove. Shared leases negotiated over diner pancakes, weekend brunches at Smorgasburg where the air hummed with spice and laughter. James landed a better gig, barback at a craft cocktail spot in Cobble Hill. Tips fat enough for date nights at indie theaters in Park Slope. Daniel's designs caught an eye. A local zine commissioned a cover. His name in small print for the first time. Life felt scripted for a rom-com, the kind with sweeping scores and fade-to-blacks. They hosted game nights with Marcus and the crew, charades dissolving into hysterics. James's impressions of stuffy Brits earning groans and applause. In quieter moments, tangled in sheets as dawn crept in, Daniel traced the freckles on James's back like constellations. "What's this one?" he'd ask, finger lingering on a cluster near his shoulder blade. "Orion's belt," James would murmur, rolling to capture his mouth. "Guides me home to you." But beneath the glow, fissures formed. James's phone buzzed more at odd hours. Texts from an old number, Detroit area code. He dismissed them with a wave. Cousin hassling about family drama. Daniel nodded. Trust a fragile bridge. But doubt gnawed at the edges. The breaking point came mid-month. Valentine's creeping like a thief. James had planned a surprise. Tickets to a revival of West Side Story at BAM, followed by dinner at a hole-in-the-wall Italian joint where the marinara was homemade and the wine flowed free. Daniel dressed up, button-down crisp, hair tamed, heart light as they navigated the subway, James's hand warm in his. The show was electric. Lovers defying worlds. Dances that pulsed with forbidden fire. As the curtain fell on Tony and Bernardo's clash, Daniel squeezed James's knee, whispering, "That's us." Against the odds, James's smile faltered, just a flicker, but Daniel caught it. At dinner, over plates of veal parm, the questions bubbled up. "You've been distant." "The phone. It's her, isn't it? Your ex from back home." James set down his fork, eyes dropping to the checkered tablecloth. "It's nothing. She's just reaching out. Needs advice on the band." "Advice?" Daniel's voice sharpened. The word a barb. "Or more." The argument ignited slow, then fierce, whispers turning to hisses over tiramisu. "You think I'd throw us away?" James shot back, cheeks flushed. "After everything? Then prove it. Block her. Show me we're solid." James's jaw tightened. A storm brewing blue. "It's not that simple. She's family now. Sorta. But fine, if that's what you need." He pulled out his phone, fingers flying. The block enacted with a finality that echoed. They left the restaurant in strained quiet, the walk to the train a minefield of unsaid. Back home, makeup came in waves, apologies laced with urgency, bodies pressing close in the dark, seeking solace in skin. "I love you," James breathed against Daniel's neck, the words a vow renewed. But trust, once chipped, leaves scars. Spring unfurled tentative, cherry blossoms dusting Fort Greene like confetti from a half-hearted parade. Daniel's father settled into a routine group therapy sessions, a job stocking shelves at a warehouse in Hunts Point. Visits became weekly, awkward coffees evolving into real talks, stories of prison hierarchies, the small mercies of library books. "You remind me of your granddad," his dad said one afternoon, stirring sugar into Folgers. "Stubborn heart, but gold underneath." James joined sometimes, his easy charm thawing the old man's reserve. "You're good for him," his father confided once, clapping James on the shoulder. "Keep him laughing." It was a bomb, this mending, but Daniel chased it with fervor, throwing himself into a new project, A mural for a community center in Bed-Stuy. Portraits of queer icons splashed across cinderblock. James helped on weekends, paint splattered and grinning, roller in hand. "This is legacy," he said, stepping back to admire a vibrant Keith Haring homage. "Your mark on the world." Nights ended in exhaustion, collapsing onto drop cloths turned makeshift beds, stars wheeling overhead through the open roof. Love felt infinite then, a canvas yet to dry. The betrayal slithered in on a humid May evening, the kind where thunder rumbled distant but inevitable. Daniel came home early from a client meeting, arms laden with grocery bags, steaks for the grill, a bottle of James's favorite IPA. The apartment was quiet, too quiet, the bedroom door ajar. He pushed it open, bags slipping from numb fingers. James sat on the edge of the bed, phone pressed to his ear, voice low and urgent. I know, but he can't find out. It was a mistake. All of it." A pause. Then softer. "I miss you too. God. Every day." The voice on the other end, feminine, laced with tears, crackled faintly. "Then come back. We can fix this. The baby's yours. Jamie." Daniel's world tilted, sound roaring in his ears like the approaching storm. Baby. Mistake. The pieces slotted cruel, the late nights at the bar, the blocked number unblocked in secret, the distance that James had sworn was nothing. He backed away, foot catching a chair, the crash thunderous. James whipped around, face draining of color. "I have to go," he muttered into the phone, ending the call with trembling fingers. "Daniel, wait." But Daniel was already fleeing, down the stairs into the muggy night, rain starting in fat drops that blurred the streetlights. He ran without direction, blocks melting into a haze, chest burning with betrayal's fire. How long? How many lies layered under the love? James caught him at the corner, grabbing his arm. "Please, let me explain." Daniel whirled, shoving him back. "Explain? You're having a kid with her? After the cabin? The promises. It was before us," James pleaded, rain matting his hair. "One night. Stupid. Before I even met you. She just told me. I didn't know." "Liar." The word lashed out. "Bro. You said you blocked her. That it was over." James's eyes glistened, defeat in the slump of shoulders. "I tried. But responsibility. I can't just walk away." Daniel laughed, bitter. "Like you did to me?" The silence stretched, broken only by rain hammering pavement. James reached out, but Daniel flinched. "I love you," James whispered. "This doesn't change. It changes everything." Daniel turned, walking into the downpour, leaving James silhouetted against the brownstones, a boy undone. That night, alone in Marcus's borrowed crash pad, Daniel curled into a ball, sobs racking silent. Betrayal wasn't a crack. It was collapse, the foundation crumbling under weight he hadn't seen coming. June baked the city in asphalt waves, heat rising like regret from the streets. Daniel moved through days in a fog, crashing on friends' couches, his sketchpad gathering dust. The mural stalled, half-finished faces staring accusingly from the wall, ghosts of what could have been. Work became refuge. Endless proofs at the print shop. Sal's gruff, "Take a break." Kid falling on deaf ears. James's texts came in barges at first. "Please talk to me. I never meant to hurt you." Then calls. voicemails thick with desperation. It's not what you think. Meet me anywhere. Daniel deleted them all, each one a fresh wound, but the ache hollowed him out, leaving echoes. His father noticed during a visit, the halfway house lounge stuffy with fans whirring lazy. "Boy troubles?" he asked, passing a vending machine Coke. Daniel cracked it open, his mirroring his turmoil. "More like boy apocalypse." The old man nodded, wisdom earned hard. "Love's a gamble, son. Sometimes you fold, sometimes you go all in. But running, that just leaves you broke, stuck, a splinter under skin." As Daniel wandered Prospect Park that weekend, paths thronged with joggers and picnickers. He sat by the lake, skipping stones that sank too quick, when a shadow fell across the water. "James, thinner," I shadowed, hands shoved deep in pockets. "Stalking now?" Daniel's voice was steel, but brittle. "Needed to see you." James sank onto the bench, keeping distance. "I'm going back to Detroit. For a bit. To figure this out with her. The baby. But not like you think." Daniel's gut twisted. "What? Co-parenting from afar? Noble." James winced. "No. I'm stepping up. But it doesn't erase us. I love you, always will. This is duty. Not destiny." The words landed like punches, each one bruising deeper. "And I was what? A detour? You were home." James's voice broke, hand twitching toward him. "Still are. Come with me? Or wait, please." Temptation flared, a spark in the dry tinder of his heart, but betrayal's ash smothered it. "I can't. Not after the lies." James stood, defeat bowing his frame. "Then this is goodbye." He leaned in, pressing a kiss to Daniel's forehead soft, final, like a benediction. Then he was gone, weaving through the crowd, a figure dissolving into summer haze. Daniel stayed till dusk, tears mixing with sweat, the lake's ripple mocking his unraveling. Weeks dragged, a blur of survival, therapy sessions paid in sliding scale, his mom's hugs that smelled of diner grease and worry. Marcus dragged him to pride events, rainbows clashing with the gray in his soul. But the cheers felt distant, parade for strangers. His father called daily now, check-ins laced with stories of his own regrets. A youthful fling, a child lost to time. "We all fuck up, Danny. The measure's in the mending." By July 4th, the city exploded in fireworks, bursts painting the sky over the East River. Daniel watched from the rooftop with the crew, beers sweating in hands, but his mind wandered north, to a boy under Midwestern stars, hand on a swelling belly. Jealousy twisted, then softened to something human, pity, perhaps, for the paths diverged. The mural called him back, brushes revived under sodium lights. He finished it in fevered strokes, faces fierce and tender, stories etched in color, Stonewall warriors, ballroom voguers, everyday lovers holding fast. At the unveiling, the community center buzzed, elders nodding approval, kids wide-eyed. "This is us," the director said, clapping his shoulder. Visible, James's absence was a phantom limb, fading to twinge. Letters arrived, postcards from Detroit, scrawled updates, baby's a girl. Named her Riley, after the lakes. No please, just shares. A bridge extended tentative. Daniel wrote back once, cautious, Proud of you. Healing takes time. It was truth. Hard one. August brought heat lightning, storms that lit the skyline electric. Daniel's designs went viral in niche circles, a queer-lit mag feature, inquiries flooding his inbox. He rented a studio space, tiny but his walls papered in proofs of possibility. One night, buzzed on rooftop wine with Marcus, the phone rang, unknown number. He answered, heart stuttering. Daniel? It's me. James's voice, roughened by distance. Heard about the mural. Saw pics. It's beautiful. You're beautiful. Silence stretched. Charged. How's Riley? A chuckle. Warm. Perfect chaos. But I miss everything here. The pull was magnetic, but Daniel held ground. What do you want, James? Forgiveness. A chance. Not to forget, but to build on the broken. Tears pricked, the old hurt surfacing. I don't know if I can. Then think on it. A pause. Heavy. I love you. That hasn't changed. The call ended, leaving echoes. Daniel stared at the city sprawl, lights winking like eyes watching, waiting. Fall crept in golden, leaves turning underfoot as Daniel weighed the scales, betrayal's weight against love's lift. His father met him for lunch at a midtown deli, pastrami on rye steaming. Saw the ex's post online. Kid's cute. He's trying. Ha! Daniel nodded, pickle spear crunching. Yeah. Question is, do I? The old man leaned in. I steady. Life ain't tidy. But regret, that's the real prison. Go with your gut, son. That night, Daniel paced the studio, sketches of James spilling across the floor, smiles captured, eyes alive. He booked a ticket, one way to Detroit, heart hammering with what-ifs. The airport was chaos, travelers herding like salmon upstream. Daniel boarded with a knot in his gut, the plane lifting over the Atlantic sprawl, Manhattan shrinking to memory. Detroit greeted with flat horizons, lakeshore wind sharp. James waited at baggage claim, Riley in a carrier on his chest, tiny fist waving. Older, wearier, but the blue eyes unchanged, hopeful. Hey, Daniel said, bag thumping down. Hey, James smiled, tentative. You came for a talk. Nothing more. Fair. They drove in silence to a diner on the edge of town. Chrome stools and coffee strong as resolve. Riley cooed in her high chair, oblivious, as words flowed cautious. The months apart, the lies unpacked, the growth in the gap. I should have told you from the start, James admitted, spoon stirring endless circles. Fear made me selfish. Daniel nodded, steam rising between them. It broke me. But it mended too. Showed me my strength. A beat. Then James's hand across the formica, open, waiting. Daniel took it, the grip firm, a circuit closing. They didn't rush. Days turned to weeks. Daniel crashing on James's couch in a walk-up overlooking the river, helping with midnight feedings, walks along Belle Isle where gulls wheeled free. Laughter returned slow, shared over burnt pancakes and baby giggles, the past a scar, not a shackle. One evening, as October frost nipped the air, they stood on the porch, Riley asleep inside. James turned, cupping Daniel's face. Stay? Build this with me? Daniel searched those eyes, Finding home. Yeah. We heal together. The kiss was rebirth. Gentle, profound, a breath shared against the cold. Not the first, but the truest. Two boys, remade, learning that love endures the fractures. Winter wrapped Detroit in white silence, snow muffling the world's clamor as Daniel and James navigated the new normal. The apartment was a cocoon of chaos. Bottles sterilizing on the counter, onesies drying on radiators, Riley's cries punctuating nights like tiny symphonies. Daniel adapted with a grace he hadn't known he possessed. Diaper changes mastered, lullabies hummed off-key, his graphic work going remote via laptop balanced on knees during naps. James watched him with quiet awe, shifts at a local brewery affording more home time. "You're a natural," he'd say, stealing kisses amid the clutter. Uncle Daniel's got the magic touch. It wasn't seamless. Doubts lingered like frost on windows. Flare-ups when James's ex called for custody talks. Tension thickening the air until Daniel reminded himself, "This is family, messy and mine." Therapy helped, joint sessions in a strip mall office, unpacking the betrayal layer by layer, words forging steel from shards. Spring bloomed hesitant, tulips pushing through crust as Riley's first steps wobbled across the linoleum. Daniel captured it on video, James whooping as she tottered into his arms. "Our girl," he grinned, pulling Daniel into the tumble, a heap of limbs and love. Word spread back east. Marcus's texts buzzing with "You Detroit now?" Wild. His mom's packages arriving stuffed with Brooklyn bagels and pride flags. His father drove up once, the old Chevy groaning across state lines, bearing flannel shirts and dad jokes. He held Riley like fragile glass, eyes misting. Grandkids. Never thought. A clap on James's back later. "Take care of my boy." Both of them. Summer sizzled. Lake breezes carrying Motown echoes from block parties. Daniel's career crested. A book cover deal for a queer memoir. His style bold and unapologetic. James proposed a road trip, down to Chicago for a weekend, leaving Riley with his mom, reclaiming the us amid the windy city's pulse. The drive was therapy on wheels. Playlists of shared anthems. Pit stops at diners where pie was a la mode and talk flowed free. In a harborside hotel, sheets crisp as new starts, they rediscovered rhythms. Kisses lazy under ceiling fans, hands mapping familiar terrain with fresh wonder. "We're good," James whispered at dawn, fingers laced. Better than before. Daniel believed it, the city's lights reflecting in his eyes like stars reclaimed. Fall brought change. James's ex relocated closer, co-parenting easing into alliance, playdates where Riley bridged old wounds. Daniel sketched family portraits, 3 figures entwined, colors warm and whole. His own dad visited more, tales of parole life weaving into bedtime stories for the tyke. But climax brewed in November's chill, a call shattering the idyll. Daniel's phone lit up during a brewery trivia night. His father's number, voice ragged. "Danny accident. Warehouse forklift. It's bad." The world narrowed to tunnel vision. James bundling him into the car. Riley farmed out as they raced the miles. Hospital fluorescence buzzed harsh. Beeps a dirge as doctors murmured internal bleeding. Touch and go. Daniel gripped James's hand in the waiting room. Knuckles white, memories flashing. The hug at the halfway house. The pride in faded eyes. Hours blurred. His mom arriving tear-streaked, collapsing into embraces. At midnight, the surgeon emerged. "He's stable." Tough old bird. Relief crashed like waves. Daniel sobbing into James's shoulder. Fear purged. Love reaffirmed. In the room, tubes snaking, his father stirred, rasping, "Knew you'd come." "Always," Daniel choked. James at his side, pillar unspoken. Recovery was grueling. Rehab in the city, Daniel shuttling between states, laptop abandoned for bedside vigils. James followed, Riley in tow, turning hospital corners into home, takeout smuggled, cartoons flickering on tablets. "We're a team," James said, as snow fell outside, blanketing the world anew. By Christmas, his father was homebound, the brownstone adapted with ramps and rails. The family gathered, mom's lax sizzling, lights twinkling on a tree James helped trim. Riley toddled underfoot, his dad in a worn armchair, voice stronger, to second acts, glasses clinked. Eyes met across the room, Daniel and James, anchors in the tide. But beneath the cheer, conflict simmered. Daniel's divided heart, pulled between coasts, the strain etching lines on James's face. "You belong here," James said one night, as Riley slept between them on the guest futon. "With him. Us, we can wait." "No." Daniel sat up, resolve hardening. "Family's not geography. It's choice." The argument unfolded quiet. Words waited. James's fear of fading into obligation. Daniel's terror of abandonment renewed. "I chose you," Daniel insisted, hand to heart. "Every day. But if it's too much, it's everything." James pulled him close, foreheads touching, breath sinking. "We'll make it work. Commute, whatever. No more running." Resolution came in compromise. Daniel splitting time, a hybrid life of flights and FaceTimes, his studio sublet but soul-rooted. Designs flourished in the flux, covers evoking journeys, lovers parted yet linked. Spring equinox brought bloom. Riley's first word, "Dada," aimed at both with gummy grin. Daniel's father walked unaided, cane tapping triumph. And in a lakeside park, petals drifting, James knelt ring simple, silver band etched with a breath motif. "Marry me? Not perfect, but ours." Tears blurred the blue. Daniel's yes a whisper on wind. The wedding was small, June sun gilding a backyard affair. Marcus officiating in bowtie jest, his mom dabbing eyes, father beaming from a lawn chair. Vows exchanged under an arbor of wildflowers. In fractures and full moons, "I choose you." Rings slid on, ceiling. Riley scattered petals, the kiss a seal, tender, triumphant, healings him. Years folded forward, Detroit deepened roots, Daniel's art gracing galleries from Motown to Manhattan, James rising to brewmaster, Riley growing fierce with curls and questions. Visits East wove the web tighter, his father's stories legend to grandkid ears. Betrayal scar faded to faint line, a reminder. Love isn't absence of storm, but dancing in the rain. Two boys, once broken, built a world where breaths began healing, shared, endless. Decades later, the house on the lake's edge stood sentinel, eaves sagging gentle under ivy claims, windows fogged with memory's breath. Daniel, silver threading his temples, sat on the porch swing, sketchpad balanced on knee, charcoal whispering over paper. The portrait took shape. James, eternal in youth's echo, blue eyes crinkled at corners, laugh lines mapping joy. Riley, Now 23 with her father's freckles and mother's fire, bounded up the steps, backpack slung. Dad's inside, fussing over the pie. Says it's for the grandkids. But we know it's for you. She plopped beside him, peering at the drawing. Exhibit material? Daniel chuckled, low and warm. Maybe. Or just for us. James emerged then, apron dusted flour, tray balanced precarious. Apple, a la mode pending. Who's ready? His voice, roughened by years but steady, carried the weight of shared seasons. They ate as dusk deepened, fireflies winking like old conspirators. Talk meandering. Riley's latest gig as a sound engineer in Chicago. Echoes of her father's band days. News from Brooklyn. Marcus's gallery opening. His dad's letters now tales in a bound volume. He passed peaceful, Daniel said, fork pausing. Last spring. Whispered proud, till the end. James squeezed his hand across the table, thumb tracing the ring's engraving. A single breath, etched eternal. He was. Of all this, night fell soft, Riley retreating to her room, college break sacred, leaving the men to the swings creek. Stars wheeled overhead, Detroit's glow faint horizon. Remember the rain? James murmured, head on Daniel's shoulder. That first kiss, soaked and stupid. Daniel smiled into the dark. How could I forget? You chased me down like I was worth it. You were. Always. A pause. Profound. Still are. They sat in companionable quiet. Hands linked. The lake lapping rhythmic. Life had layered them thick. The betrayal's forge. The baby's bridge. The wedding's vow. Riley's chaos. Careers cresting and crestfallen. His father's mending. Moves and milestones. Conflicts had come, job losses in recessions. Riley's teen rebellions. Health scares that hollowed nights. But each weathered, stronger for the storm. Humanity dwelled in the ordinary. Hospital runs for fevers. School plays applauded hoarse. Quiet anniversaries with wine and whispers. No grand tragedies, just the quiet bye of living love's labor, unromanticized, profound. As autumn winds stirred leaves, Daniel closed the pad, portrait complete. Not just James, but them two figures entwined, breaths mingling, healing's arc complete. For the mantle, he said. Standing, pulling James up. Inside, pie crumbs scattered. Riley's laughter filtered from speakers, a playlist of their youth. They danced slow in the kitchen, bodies familiar as home, steps syncing without music's cue. Forever started that night, James breathed, cheek to cheek. In a breath, Daniel agreed, the words a mantra. Outside, the world turned. America's heartlands humming with stories untold, cities pulsing with possibility. But here, in this house by the water, two boys grown men found grace. In forgiveness's fold, love's quiet roar, the humanistic hymn that wounds weave into wisdom. Healing, they learned, begins not in perfection, but in the pause between heartbeats shared, sustained, a single breath defying the dark.